Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast. Today, we have a very special episode for you all today. We have the wonderful Chelsea Heppert. She is back with us. How are you doing today, ma'am?
Cold. How are you?
I am, well, not, it is cold. Was out there shoveling, got hit with some ice in my eyes, so that wasn't very pleasant. But we are happy to finally have you back.
Yay, it's been a while.
It has been a while. I had to, because since your first one is so famous, I had to Google you to see when it came out. And it came out literally a year ago from this day.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
It's wild. Exactly 1 year. And Chelsea, you are our residential expert on all things pop culture, and in one in particular, a Miss Britney Spears. A lot has happened since your episode last year.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. She's finally free, kind of. Well, like 90% free, but we're getting there. Steps in progress.
Yeah, their dad's basically out of the picture right now, but I don't even want to focus on the dad. I want to focus on this drama that has just exploded between Britney and her sister, Jamie Lynn.
Gotta love siblings. They're the best.
It was just weird because it came literally out of nowhere.
Yes and no, because she kind of alluded to Jamie Lynn just being I don't want to call her a horrible person, but like she's a garbage person. In terms of what she's done with her sister, I don't know her like in her private life, but there's been times where Britney has like called her out, but it's been like super brief and like snippety, and yeah, it's not out of the blue, I guess.
That's true. And like just going back, and we're for the people who haven't been following all the Britney Spears stuff, I'm gonna give a quick rundown just from when she got free to now. So November 12th, 2021, she was freed from her conservatorship. And then the 17th, she said her family should all be in jail for allowing the conservatorship to continue for so long. Then in December 27th, she said her family embarrassed her and hurt her deeply, which we can all agree on that. And then Jamie starts kind of popping out of the woodworks. On January 12th, she described her strained relationship with Britney as confusing. And that is when we start getting, January 12th is when she had the Good Morning America interview. And I know when we were talking about it, it was like, wait, Jamie Lynn's having an interview on Good Morning America?
Right. Because the book was originally supposed to come out several months ago, like almost a year, I believe. She was originally going to title it after like one of Britney Spears' songs, but then they scrapped it and went with the title of it now. I don't even know the name of the book because I refuse to read it. But she all of a sudden was getting pressed for it and had this interview. And it wasn't even an interview. It's just a 5-minute conversation of Jamie Lynn trying to get money for herself, because let's be real, Britney was their cash cow, like for lack of a better phrase. Like they leached off of her for 13 years. So she did this interview and they read snippets of the book and tried to twist a lot of things. And Jamie had the audacity to say that she didn't know what was going on. I think that was the biggest takeaway from that interview.
Yeah, she said she didn't understand a conservatorship. And when I didn't know there was going to be, like, she was making a book. I was just like, oh, okay, she's going to speak on the Britney stuff and all that. And then when she announced, like, I watched the interview and then she said she had a book, I was like, oh, okay, so this is just part of the book tour. Like, this isn't you like finally coming out and apologizing for not doing anything. This is you promoting the book.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing I would agree with Jamie, though, is that point where she did get isolated from the family when she was having her first kid.
Oh, absolutely. To be so young and to go through that while being famous, I'm sure is incredibly traumatizing. And to her point, like, yeah, when you are 13 and your sister's going through that big of a trauma, like, you're not going to know what's going on. Like, you don't necessarily have the tools or the know how to figure those types of situations. And you're trusting the adults in your life who should be caring and should be there for both of you, like both her and her sister. Like, that's what should have been happening. However, that's not the case. But as years went on, I think Jamie Lynn didn't empower herself or her sister by like actually figuring out what was going on. I think she just took everything at face value.
Right. And then literally the next day on the 13th, which I didn't think she was going to respond, but Britney did respond to Jamie and basically called her out for trying to sell a book at Britney's expense. Because honestly, I don't think Jamie's book would have sold or selling the way it is if it didn't have anything about Britney Spears.
Oh, absolutely. And Jamie tried to restart her music career a few years ago, and she was featured on Britney's album Britney Jean on one of the songs, but it wasn't a single. It was just like a random little bop. So she tried that route. She's had a few shows here and there where she's guest starred or had like a supporting role. But her career hasn't really taken off. So I think she is just looking for that, and people are supporting it because it has to do with Britney and they're curious, and everyone wants to consume everything bad.
Right. And also, because Jamie Lynn also had that statement where she said that Britney had a knife and locked her in the room with her.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the thing that Jamie Lynn said.
And even though the conservatorship is done per se, I wouldn't say that type of stuff, because then you got people looking like, oh, maybe that conservatorship should have still been around if she was locking her sister in a room with a knife, and we're just finding out about this now.
Right. And then it also, like, it makes it harder too when Britney does post what she posts on Instagram, because she is from Louisiana. She has like that accent. Like whenever she does post her long Instagram captions, like you have to pause and go through it. There was this TikToker who is from the South who read it in like that type of accent and like interpret it the way that people from the South like speak, with like their influxes, things like that. And when she did it, it makes total sense. But if you just read it for what it is, you're just like, what the actual hell is she talking about?
Yeah, that's a very good point. But then Jamie continued, like the next big one was the Call Her Daddy podcast, where she went on. She wasn't backing down from that knife story. She basically said, yeah, this happened. I'm telling my story. I'm telling the truth. She even brought up Britney's split from Justin Timberlake, saying that she was sad that they broke up. But then Britney retorted saying that Jamie was never sad that they broke up and didn't do anything for her, and saying that she should have slapped Jamie and her mom. So last year, you detailed how JT got the treatment both of them had were completely different.
Oh, absolutely.
And even to this day, like JT had his apology, but it was almost 20 plus years later. So I don't like those type of apologies to me, because it's like, now you're apologizing because it's the hot thing to do because everyone is on your mentions.
Like, it's a little too late. And Britney wasn't alone in that. There was also Janet Jackson, who was owed a huge apology from Justin. And there's been countless other issues with him too. So it's not like he's the golden child. He's just there with his ramen noodle hair, I guess.
And then next Britney's lawyer, attorney, the good one, not the bad ones that her dad and them had during the conservatorship, he sent a cease and desist letter to Jamie accusing her of airing false grievances, which
Yes.
I don't know. It's just, it all works for Jamie though, because everything that happens is pushing people to go buy her book.
It 100% is working for her, but we also live in a culture and where it's people are more aware and more apt to buy into the whole, like, we're not going to support this. Some people take it too far with cancel culture because I personally don't think that should be the end all be all, because there's so many situations where we don't know the whole truth. But I think in this situation, people need to make those educated decisions and not support something when clearly we will never know the whole truth of what happened over those 13 years. We never will. People have covered so many things up. Britney has been put through hell. And I think people just need to start supporting the person instead of the culture around the person, and let her just kind of take a break and decide what's going to be next, and then take what Jamie Lynn or what the family say with a grain of salt and realize that they're in the situation because of themselves. Like, they need to focus on themselves and figure out how they can move on as people and not drag someone else down again.
I also think too, it's kind of crazy because with all this stuff, it worked for Jamie because her book, I just looked it up, is a national bestseller now.
But like, everything's a national bestseller.
That is true. That is a little watered down, but you can have it like in her profile, national best-selling author off of that book. And Britney called her out saying it's just like, because the timing, which that was my biggest thing, was unbelievable. What you've done to the family. Yeah, Britney just called her out on it. She also brought up who you sent over a whole other dynamic with Jamie, Alexa Nicholas, how do you say her last name? From Zoe 101, her co-star, that she started going at Jamie.
Yeah, that whole thing, I still don't understand it, mainly because most of the reporting is just awful. Like, there's no actual reporting, it's just statements from both sides. There's nothing going into like what prompted all of this. But apparently Jamie Lynn has consistently not treated people with kindness or respect.
Apparently she wrote something in her book about her as well in a negative light. And Alexa basically just said, I've been at home taking care of my kid. Like, why am I getting dragged into all this?
Plus Zoe 101 was however many years ago.
God, like 07?
Like, so long.
So, Chelsea, what's your Spears expert opinion? Because the last thing that Britney said, Britney literally called her scum on the 28th of January. So just a couple of days ago.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any way this family can reconcile? Because what I said once Jamie came out, I was like, give it 6 months and then the mom's book's going to be next.
I don't think this family is ever going to, I don't even think you can call them a family. I think they're just related. I don't think that, just based on all of the history, that any one of them is going to have a positive relationship. I mean, Jamie Lynn is making money off of Britney still. Lynn she's stayed for the most part pretty silent, so I'd honestly be a little bit surprised if she made a book, but Jamie will absolutely make a book because he's broke. Like, he is trying to get Britney to pay for all of his legal fees, even though she was paying for everything for 13 years. He also has like the restraining order. He has claimed bankruptcy before. He's battled with addiction, and that's okay. We're not shaming that, but I would not be surprised if he didn't do something before Lynn.
I feel like he would be like the finale. Because Jamie Lynn, Jamie Lynn wasn't registering in my brain of like, oh, celebrities who are about to talk or whatever. Because you've been quiet basically your whole, like, the past couple of years where the conservatorship really got put in the light. And then your timing just showed me, I was like, this is the hugest money grab on your own sister.
Yeah.
So it's like the mom, she could say the cliche, I've been quiet all these years. Now it's time for me to tell my side of the story. That cliche.
Ugh, I hope not.
And then the dad's one, I see the dad's book starting off 2023.
Yeah, I could see that. I think that whole family just needs to stop in terms of like fighting each other. I think they need to step back and realize that they're not going to be a family and they can fight each other in private, but I don't think it's necessary for them to tell their sides, with the exception of Britney. I think she 100% should be able to tell her side because she's been suppressed for so long. And she should be able to get those opportunities to actually enjoy her work and perform if she wants to, and explore the world and make the money that she deserves. Because she is looking into projects right now. She just posted on Instagram about the possibility of projects. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I did see an article about her, like, saying she was going to do projects. I know the biggest thing, which I don't think it's happened at our time of recording, she's supposed to have her sit down with Oprah.
Yeah.
Which I'm actually kind of shocked because I know you are not the biggest fan of Oprah. So I wanted to know what your feelings were that Britney picked Oprah to whenever this interview actually happened.
I am not the biggest fan of Oprah. I think Oprah over the years has done a great disservice to a lot of young celebrities in the way that she interviews. And I think that if she makes Britney comfortable, that's fine. But I'm a little apprehensive of how it's going to go. But at the same time, like, who else would actually do the interview? I mean, there's no one really out there.
But who would you? It's tough because with that big a star, it depends on what type of platform. Like, there is Oprah, obviously. Would you go? I don't even know if you'd go to CNN because, like, in the documentary, they really dogged her in 2007.
Yeah, they did.
But I don't know if those same people are there.
I think it'd be interesting if Britney just talked. Like, I don't even think she needs someone to interview her. I think she is more than capable about forming her thoughts and just having an open and honest conversation on a platform that she feels comfortable. Obviously, that is Instagram. But I think that if she were to just do it herself, that could be really empowering and amazing.
That would be, because then she would completely control all the questions. And sure, like with Oprah, their teams would be like, go over what questions are going to be asked. But I mean, Oprah literally can do whatever she wants. So she can go off the cuff, and then Britney's not prepared for those questions. And then we're talking about the answers that she was flustered. But if she's by herself and she does it on an Instagram, I think the biggest thing, though, she would just have to like tell her fans a date. Like, I don't think that's something you can just do randomly and then all your fans miss it.
Yeah, I don't know. And I think that she would be able to control the narrative 10 times more than what she could with anyone else, like Oprah including. And even if like she needed somebody to do those questions, she could have her lawyer or even have her fiance do it. I don't think that having someone from like the industry do it is necessarily like the best decision.
Yeah, because I was just trying to think. I was like, I know The View talks about the stories, but I couldn't see her going on The View to do it.
No.
Like, I just don't.
Like, E! News is very positive now, but even they, like, every single media outlet has torn someone apart. Like, that's just the way it was in the early 2000s, and it still kind of is. I mean, Hailey Bieber is still getting harassed all the time just based on her marriage, but I honestly think that Britney should just do it herself and in her own way. Because she kind of already has in some respects, but it's not like the full tell all that everyone wants. And I don't think that we're necessarily going to get that big of a tell all, but I think that if Britney were to use her voice and on like a platform that she supports, that we'd get something good.
If she does, like, it stays with the Oprah one, are you going to watch, even though you're not a fan of Oprah, but you're obviously a fan of Britney?
I will watch it, and I will give Oprah the benefit of the doubt. I know it's really controversial to not like Oprah, but here I am. But I just based on the way that she's handled even recent interviews, it's very manipulative to me. Like that part would be hard to watch if it does happen.
She has her own network.
I know.
So she literally controls everything on the Oprah network. She has her own network.
She's incredibly powerful, which is amazing, but she's also very, very manipulative when it comes to her interview style, and it hasn't changed.
Who do you think right now, I guess, in music, industry-wise, who you think Britney is closest to? And maybe they'd be able to do like the interview.
Honestly, I think Paris Hilton would be a good pick.
So I was thinking about her too.
Like, I think she would be an excellent pick because she's also gone through a lot of trauma in her life, both in personal and in media. So she kind of has that understanding, and she has that understanding of how powerful people's perceptions can be just about like a single moment in time. So I think that would be a good one. Plus, honestly, Paris got a lot of hate, but she's so intelligent and she's so kind and so supportive of others that I think she'd be an amazing choice.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Also, I have to backtrack before the dad makes a book and the mom makes a book. I always forget they have a brother. His book will be coming soon.
I think it'll be like a 10-page story. Like, I don't think he has the note. No one knows who he is. He just.
That's the best thing. So just all you got to say is, I'm Britney Spears' brother. Here's my side of the conservatorship. And he could go on some podcast. And then, I mean, if he's like, hey, I'm Britney Spears' brother and I want to talk, every top podcast is going to be trying to get him. And then that starts this thing.
Yeah.
And it's weird because, like, you didn't read Jamie Lynn's book out of like respect for Britney, but there are other Britney Spears fans who went to get the book because they want to see what she said about Britney and then go tear a new one on social media.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's a wrong or a right way to support that. I personally wasn't going to spend my money supporting someone who's going to just be that shady about the whole situation, and not be a good supporter of Britney. Like, I'd rather spend my money on tacos, which is what I did actually when that book came out.
You spent your money on tacos?
Yeah, they were really good. It was worth it. But, you know, like, we're going to find out what was said in the book one way or another. Like, there's enough media outlets that will release that information. And yes, she'll still get paid by us clicking on those links and like viewing those pages, but it's a significantly less portion than what it would be if we went out and bought the book.
You still think none of them are still going to get invited to Britney's wedding?
No. Absolutely. I feel like that's going to be like a Hawaii like destination, like super small wedding with her and her fiance. Like, I think it'll be very small.
I also think, which is another part that I don't think is really being talked about enough, is obviously both of them are moms. So now, like, the kids aren't really involved in like this whole thing, but now like their kids, nieces and like cousins can't hang out because of the mom thing. I feel like that's just like another aspect. It's just like, hey, what if they were like super close with Jamie's kids and now obviously they're not hanging out like that? Or are they adult enough to let their kids hang out? Like, I've just thought about that because that can be damaging to kids because they're the only other kids who know what their family's been dealing with.
Yeah. I honestly don't know how close they are, and I think that's a good thing. Don't know, just because they are kids. Like, we shouldn't really know anything about them, with the exception of like what happened between Britney's father and her kids, and then with Jamie Lynn's, I believe, daughter almost died a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that part is best that we don't know, just to respect their privacy. Like, I hope that they're able to still be friends and like cousins, obviously, but how do you even go through that, like, and not want to be there for like your respective parent and like their side of the story, you know? Because no matter how hard you try to shield kids from things, like, they're going to find out. Kids are smart. They're going to perceive what's actually going on.
Do also forget too, maybe they could see each other when Kevin has the kids.
Yeah, also there's that side of the whole aspect. Like,
at least I don't think he's gonna write a book. I think he will be still quiet.
He's done a few like People magazine things, but I don't think he is going to involve himself in the situation any longer.
Well, that situation was the greatest situation for his life, like in 2007 when they did the stuff and children's services and him getting full custody full at that time. And like, she's still like, she has to pay him child support. So it's like she was paying for her attorneys and her dad's attorneys and paying K-Fed thousands of dollars in child support, all off of 2007.
Yeah. And you know what's sad? Like, who knows where that would have happened, like, or where both parties would be if the media one didn't really exist, like, to that extent of what it was in that time. And if her family actually supported her instead of what they turned her into. Because, I mean, everyone struggles with mental health. Everyone will go through something at some point. There's no shame in it. Like, the stigma needs to be taken away. Like, if you need to go to a rehab facility for emotional addiction, whatever, like, you should still be able to be given those opportunities without, like, depending on the situation, without like being forced into that corner of losing your kids completely like that.
It's crazy how those incidents changed everything. And then, as we saw framing Britney Spears a year ago, everyone just burying her through the coal mines. Like, obviously, if you were driving intoxicated or whatever, having like a huge breakdown, and you got little kids in the car, that is problematic. But
if you're picking up your child to flee 30 grown men who are following you around and swarming your car with a baby while you're pregnant, no, you're looking out for your safety. If anything, that responsibility falls on those reporters who are putting her in that dangerous situation.
If that incident, take that incident in 2007, if it happened in 2022, would it be better or worse?
In terms of Britney being able to protect herself, or Britney like not having that stigma?
I guess both.
I think it would have been a different outcome. I think that if somebody stepped back and like filmed what was actually happening, no one would be so quick to be like, oh, she's a terrible mom. People would be like, oh, this is insane. No one should have to go through that. She shouldn't be put in that situation. And I think that Britney would have been able to recover quickly from it, more so than what happened back in the day.
I guess because you brought up cancel culture at the very beginning. So I was just thinking from that perspective, if one super big media person's like Britney was being irresponsible with kid, like yada yada, we need to cancel Britney. I feel like the social media thing would make it a lot worse, because the right person can, because everyone wants to get ahead of the story before actually having the facts. So if like one person tweets something and it becomes 50,000 retweets in the gospel, you're automatically thinking like, oh yeah, she needs to be, her kids taken away and all of that. So that's the only thing I was thinking from like the social media thing. I just think it'd be an even bigger wildfire.
I think we're at a state where people are kind of stepping back from cancel culture, not in like the sense that like certain people do need to be canceled and they shouldn't have that platform, but I think people are realizing that no one is necessarily inherently bad or good. It just depends on the situation, and that people actually need to do research into figuring out whether or not somebody actually did the things that people say. Like somebody could go around saying that I don't even know what would get me canceled. I don't exist. But like, you know, if
Well,
somebody
that's not true. I mean, in a normal people sense,
yeah,
like for normal people like us being canceled is if something happens and we're applying for jobs and they see that, we don't get hired, like from a normal people thing.
Yeah. But even with celebrities too, I think people are stepping back and trying to figure out the facts before they're canceled.
So what's your criteria for cancel? Like what does it take for you to want to cancel someone?
I need multiple sources and like multiple facts. Like if we were going to cancel Britney for putting her kids in danger, it would need to be actually like proven that she did and would need to be filmed from multiple perspectives to show that. I think that there would need to then be a court case or whatever needs to happen, an arrest report, and then go from there.
Okay, that makes sense. So just an example, because shouting out to her, because the other shocking thing of this week that she is pregnant. Rihanna and Chris Brown situation, if that happens in 2022, are you canceling Chris Brown?
Like
The whole beat her up, all that. Like if that same situation happens right now, do you cancel Chris Brown? Because obviously it happened a long time ago, and obviously he has not well, that wasn't even really a term back then, but obviously it's basically almost flown through the wayside that people forget that it actually happened.
Yeah, I personally don't support him just because of that. Like I think yeah, he could have grown as a person and realized what happened, but there's been so many times where he has been accused of other situations that has kind of become a trend at this point. So I think he should be canceled.
Okay. So that would make sense. But yes, shout out to Rihanna having her first child with
It's gonna be so
shocked. Sent the picture. I thought it was photoshopped. I didn't think it was real because it was literally out of the blue from like People magazine, and then she confirmed it today. So shout out to her. Quick other things, because obviously most was dominated by Britney and Jamie, because I know fans have asked, what are your current thoughts on another family drama, probably the first family of celebrity isms in the 2010s? Kim, Pete, Kanye. What are your thoughts on that craziness?
I am so here for Kim and Pete. Like I personally think it makes sense. I think it's so funny and I think it's cute. I think Kanye needs a lot of help that he may or may not be willing to get. And he obviously hasn't been the same since his mom died. No one would. But I think people should also stop enabling him in that sense of giving him like that fuel to attack Kim or to attack people in general. But I think Kim is doing what's best for her and her kids and her mental health and her sanity. And if Pete makes her happy, I think she's entitled to it. Do I think it'll last? No. But do I think she deserves to have a rebound or whatever the hell she's going through? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think Kanye should be going around saying that Pete Davidson has AIDS? No. No. Like that is messed up. Especially like Kim really hasn't said anything negative about Kanye. She has handled this whole thing with such grace and dignity. But then Kanye is clearly not.
So two things. One, I don't know if it was you who said it. I feel like it was you who said it or someone else. That Pete Davidson's like the guy you date before you like really find your like forever, like who you date before you get married. Since that literally just happened with Ariana Grande. And
Mm-hmm.
my thing with the whole Kim and Kanye thing, if she doesn't have, because that one story that came out on one of the kids' birthday parties that she wouldn't let him see the kids, but that he ended up seeing the kids because Travis gave the address. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
a fan of people not letting people see their kids unless it's court ordered that you're not supposed to, because that does a lot of damage to the kids mentally, especially like the
Mm-hmm.
parents could have their issues, but they could still be there for the kids and like
Yeah.
co-parenting. So like they need to figure that out
Oh, 100%.
if they're never going to get back together.
Yeah. And they absolutely should figure that out. And I think that Kanye's kind of like started the whole thing with the kids in terms of dragging them into these situations. Um, in terms of like calling them out on social media and calling them out on interviews and then bringing them into songs and all of that stuff. Like, I think that he kind of initiated that. And obviously, I'm not a mother and I'm not a celebrity, but if I had kids and my ex was going through that big of a mental struggle, like I would want to protect my kids to the best of my abilities and maybe not put them in that big of a situation, especially on their birthday.
And then from the other card, I don't even know which side's worse right now because like that Kim, Pete, Kanye stuff's kind of bad. But when are you going to personally reach out to Chloe and just tell her to stop with Tristan Thompson? Like again, like another cheating thing. This time it was worse because she got pregnant and then he tried to deny the baby was his and then got DNA tested and the baby is his. So now he has this baby with someone that he cheated on Chloe
Mm-hmm.
with. With rich people, I always think you need to settle before you do discovery because once they got to that point and it was like his fake Snapchat Black Jesus whatever numbers that he was
Yeah.
like that's just bad. And then she's still. What do you think about that? Because it's been going on for years. He cannot be trusted with women. It's
No, I think he also probably needs some help. Because if you're that much of a serial cheater, like, one, what caused you to be that way? Two, like, why can't you be happy? Like, you're self sabotaging at that point. So, again, mental health. And three, like, if it really is about the sex, like, you have two hands, figure it out. Like, also, Chloe is beautiful. Like, if you're at that point in your relationship, like, wouldn't you want to be with that person? I just, ugh. But then Chloe, obviously, she keeps taking him back, and
exactly.
love is love, I guess, and you want to be with that person, but at the same time, is that person worth you? Like, I feel like at a certain point, you're going to lose who you are just for the sake of that one person. And I don't think that's fair, especially given what she's gone through with Lamar and with social media, and with her body image and just how much she's gone through in general.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing with that is obviously she is enabling, like she is letting this happen. Like she's just, if she would have like said, okay, after the first time cheating, okay, that's
Yeah.
it. If it happens again, we are done. We will co-parent. We will be kosher with each other, but no chance of getting back together. People honestly forget that Tristan Thompson plays in the freaking NBA. Like he hasn't done anything like of
Relevant.
NBA relevance. Like he's only relevant because of this family.
Yep.
And it's
Is he like retiring or something too?
he might as well. I mean, he's with basically he's married into this family. He gets to go to the parties and everyone's just fine with him cheating every 3 weeks. Shoot, what is it? Winter time? It's like literally every season he cheats. So when it's spring, it'll be some other girl.
Yeah.
I just,
I think they need to not. I think they can co-parent eventually, but they shouldn't be together.
well, he's co-parenting. Like he has 3 kids with 3 different people. So
Yeah. That's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, but Chloe, which I tell like normal people, like my friends, especially like girls, it's like if a guy cheated on his last person to be with you, he will cheat on you to be with someone else. Don't think that you're going to be the last person. He literally just cheated on his previous person to be with you.
Yeah, like don't get it twisted.
I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. And it happens literally every couple of months. And
Yeah, like if it happens one time, fine, whatever, we'll move on. Like, be mad. But then if it keeps happening and then it happens and results in a kid that you're gonna lie about, like,
so that whole family still owes Jordan Woods an apology because that was nonsense. The way that they all attacked her, basically got cut off literally from being Kyler's like best friend at the time and all of that
yep.
to this one happened. Oh, it's no big deal. Like Jordan kissed Tristan. This person has a whole child. And last time I checked, you have to do a lot more than kiss someone to have a child. So
Yeah. And also, Jordan obviously felt bad about it. And yeah, what she did it was wrong, but it also wasn't her relationship. At the end of the day, it was Tristan's relationship. He's the one who messed that up. He's the one who had those responsibilities and obligations. He's the one who made that active choice. Like she did too, but I think it's very unfair when people try to blame the other woman because that's such a stigma. Like it's not her relationship that she's messing up. It's the guy's relationship or vice versa, you know?
yeah, no, I agree. It's like because he was actively looking to like he could have been like, hey, I'm in a relationship. And it could have been in the opposite way too. Like if Tristan was a she could be like, hey, I'm in a relationship. That's not how I get down. Cool. End of story. But he was just like, well, F it. No one's gonna find out. You're 6'10" and you play in the NBA and you're dating the most famous family on planet Earth right now.
Yeah, like
that's just freaking stupid. Chelsea, anything else you want a quick hit about before we sign off today?
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like all of the fun celebrity news. Paris Hilton was great. That's great.
That was great. We forgot the other Kardashian male in the family. I mean, Travis had that incident. That was pretty bad. At the concert. That was bad.
I think that's more than bad. I think that's horrific.
It was horrific. People did lose their lives and he apologized, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I wasn't feeling his apology.
I definitely wasn't feeling his apology. And there's a lot of people who need to take responsibility for that day. Live Nation, him, just security, just a lot of people. And I don't think everyone will ever know until like the lawsuits finally are like put into action and we start to dig deep into that situation. And I think honestly, he still remains canceled, like going back to that. And I think that's something that kind of needs to stay that way, just in terms of what happened, because it was negligent. Like none of that needed to happen. And it's not to say like that it hasn't happened. I mean, there's been several performers and concerts where that has, but you don't go to a place like that and expect to die.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, I do have a fan question. When's the Lindsay Lohan ep coming?
Ooh, you know what's funny? I actually just watched Georgia Rule last night. The movie where she almost got kicked out of because that was in like the peak of everything. Everything was happening. And she got letters from the director asking her to pull it together or otherwise she was going to get kicked off the film. That one should be soon because now I want to go back through and watch all of her stuff because she's so talented.
Can't think of anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's a question.
Well, thank you, Chelsea, for making your return literally a year on this day. Hopefully, we don't have to wait an entire year to hear your lovely insight on all of these celebrity news and gossip going on in the planet Earth. Thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. Make sure you like, rate, comment, subscribe anywhere that you listen to. And yeah, with that being said, depending on where you're at in the United States, make sure you're staying warm and staying out of the ice snowstorm. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.